Welcome to Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to have Mem from Exumer Skyping in today, I believe from Germany.
No, from New York.
From New York. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I've been living here for about 20 years.
Okay. Excellent. There are other parts of the band that are in Germany, though, correct?
Yeah, 3 of us are in Germany. Myself and our bass player, Tony, live here in New York.
All right. Excellent. Glad to get that cleared up. You've got an album coming up. I always like to approach this as a new fan going to the record store. Sound good?
Sounds great.
I'm going in, I'm flipping through some albums. I get up to the E's, I've gone by the Exciter and the Extreme and stuff like this. And I come to this group, Exumer. And I pull the album out and I look at it. And the first thing that really strikes me is the name. Can you give me a little background on the name of the band?
Sure. I mean, like any band from the 80s, we were looking for a strong sounding name. And we had all kinds of ideas. And then one day my dad came up with Exumer. And then I looked it up and I said, wow, that's cool. And then to make it a little bit more of our own, we dropped the H, and then that's how that whole thing came about. So my dad came up with the name.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
Yeah.
Next thing I look at, I'm pretending the album is out. The album comes out April 5th on Metal Blade. I'm pretending it's already out. So I pull it out, I look at it. The next thing that strikes me is the title of the album, Hostile Defiance. Tell me a little about that.
So Hostile Defiance came about, I pretty much, I do all the lyrics and the concept of the records for us. And basically each of the records has a concept. Last one was The Raging Tides. Was a lot of politics, that was the topic of it, with the rise of ISIS, the election of Trump, and all that nonsense. So this record is a little bit closer to home in that I work in the field of psychiatry. I have been working in the field of psychiatry since 2002. I studied social work here in New York, and I've been, active in that field for a long time, and I got inspired to write a record about that topic because about mental illness, basically. Mostly through all the mass shootings that we had in this country primarily since Sandy Hook. And it was just kind of like a rapid thing after that. It seemed like every other month or so there was something going on, and every time I people talked about the issue, it was always like the first thing that came up was mental illness and people being emotionally disturbed and not getting treatment, which to a point is true in regards that everybody who has mental illness should get treatment. And obviously, if you mow down 50 people, you are emotionally disturbed to a point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it also kind of gave it a little bit of a negative taste to the, and made, and helped to further stigmatize mental illness and mentally ill people, in my view. Instead of maybe looking at, tighten up gun laws or, things that contribute to these things, to these shootings.
Yeah.
And I was like, the best way for me in regards to removing stigma and in regards to, normalizing mental illness was to talk about it. I don't know. I think many of us, have either know people with mental illness, friends or family, and it can be it's a normal thing, just like hypertension or heart disease or anything. You take medication, you seek treatment, and then you hopefully get better.
Yeah.
But every time people got shot, it kind of is talked about in this weird way where it's like a negative thing, and everybody's who's mentally ill is crazy and kills people, which is not the point. I mean, I maybe had 5 people in my entire career that displayed negative tendencies.
Yeah.
So that's how I wrote the record. Every song talks about the topic of mental illness and about a specific form of it. And that's how the title came about. And it also kind of is a bit of a reflection of our stance in terms of, being here since 1985 and not going away, and we're pretty defined in what we're doing.
Yeah, definitely. Very cool. Next thing that strikes me is the cover. The whole, it's just an amazing cover. Did you do that? One of the guys in the band? Have somebody else do it?
So the guy, his name is Kostin Shinaro. He's an artist from the Czech Republic. He has worked on cover artwork for At the Gates. He did videos with At the Gates. He did artwork. He did a video for Voivod. I think he worked with Grave. Our guitar player works at Century Media, and we looked at the stuff, and he got the number, and he got the contact for us to this artist, and I talked to him. I explained him the lyrical concept of the record, and we arrived at that artwork, with the guy with the mask. That's our mascot since 1986.
Yeah.
In the straitjacket, and he's got like his hands up, and there are like eyes pierced through his hands. That's from a song called Trapper. That's a song about schizophrenia, and in that song, the character is going through, he's hallucinating and seeing things and hearing things, and the lyrics talk about demon eyes, and he took that idea and put it in the artwork. So that's how that whole thing came about.
Very cool. So I've checked out. I've got it home and I've checked it out and I've played it, and it's amazing. This is a killer album. I happened to get an advanced copy so I could play it. A couple of songs that jumped out at me that I want to ask you about. The first one was the title track, Hostile Defiance. I listened to it and I watched the video. I thought the video was really, really cool. Reminded me a little bit in parts of it of sort of the Pink Floyd The Wall scenario. A little bit.
Could be, yeah. So the song "Hostile Defiance" is about oppositional defiant disorder, which is found in adolescent people, kids who struggle with their emotions and then display antisocial tendencies and rebel against authority. Basically, the concept of the video is how the character, the main character, is acting out, what contributes to him becoming emotionally unstable. So if you follow the video, all these little bits and pieces, him being abused by his dad, him, going to school and getting, being abused in school by his classmates and the teacher, and then at the end he goes on a rampage.
Right.
That's the hostility. And that's how the idea of the video came. So we look at it from what contributes to people to become ill, basically.
Okay. The other tune I liked, I could ask you probably something about every song, but I tried to pare it down to a few. Dust Eater. Love the lyrics and a great killer riff in that tune.
Thank you. Yeah, Dust Eater is basically about self-medicating and basically crushing medication with in your mouth, and that's hence Dust Eater.
Okay.
The riffing obviously is inspired by like old school Exodus stuff. But when people ask me about our influences, at this point I just say ourselves, because we've been around since 1985. So
right.
We grew up with what we grew up with, so at the end of it, it will sound like us. But if you want a reference, obviously it's there's a homage to like an old school Exodus riffing maybe.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, we've been doing these type of songs since 1985. So
Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted to basically work with a few new elements on this record, or not new, but things that we thought would make this this album interesting, which is to have a few more mid-tempo songs.
Yep.
And a little bit more melody on the guitars and a little bit melody on the vocals, and that's basically how we ended up with Hostile Defiance, the record.
Nice. The other tune I liked was Descent. Just here's the way my notes I've got: vicious riff, fantastic melodic solo. Love the lyrics, kind of, I mean, that's sort of a horror story right there that I was getting out of it, you know.
Yeah. So basically, it's descending deeper into lunacy. Basically, just getting, just becoming more and more aware that you are going crazy, basically. And that's what that song is about. Musically, you can find, hints of Merciful Fate, especially in the breakdown.
Yeah.
Like that song could be from The Oath, especially if you listen to Dangerous Meeting.
Yeah.
If you listen closely to it, those are like influences on that song. Like I said, we tried a few things that we have never tried before, and I think they came out really well. And it paid off, actually.
Yeah, definitely. Last one I got to ask you about was The Order of Shadow. Love the lyrics, love the story. What's with that one?
That is basically how the Order of Shadows. So the Order of Shadows, to me, is the combination of all kinds of illnesses that can occur to a person, and there are basically, it's just like it's like a dialogue between the person and the illnesses and the various forms of being ill, and that's the Order of the Shadows, because they never really, when people go through episodes and when people experience these things, they don't come on overtly right off the bat.
Yeah.
They are kind of always lingering in the background. And then, you feel great, and then you go through a depression, or you go through mania, and then, you become, and then you feel good again, you feel normal again, and you think you'll never feel bad again, ever again. Especially if you're on medication, so you stop using medication, and then you fall into the Order of the Shadows, which are always looking to get you. Basically, that's the idea behind the lyrics.
Amazing stuff. The two cover tunes intrigued me as well. He's a Woman, She's a Man by Scorpions. Then you got the Entomb cover, Supposed to Rot. How'd you come up with those two?
So our steadfast rule for cover tunes is never cover of your own genre, and always look for interesting stuff that is challenging and different, basically. On the Raging Tides, we covered Pentagram's Forever My Queen.
Yep.
Kind of did that. On this record, we love fully wrote era Scorpions.
Yeah.
So, that song is a very quick, fast song for that time. And we thought we could thrash it up. It kind of lends itself to get thrashified. And we love the first two Entombed records, so that was an easy no-brainer. And it's obviously outside of a genre, so...
Yeah.
We thought the riffs are really strong in that record, and and they kind of also, again, they lend themselves to be as played as thrash. So they worked out really well with those two, I think.
I got to see those guys back, I believe. I was trying to think. I believe it was 2000. They were part of a triple bill. It was Entombed, Halford, and Iron Maiden was out on. Great triple bill.
Wow.
Great triple, and it was the comeback album, the Maiden comeback album, the first one back with Bruce.
Yes.
That was really good, and Halford was pretty hot. He had a great band, and that was a great triple bill.
Man.
So this is your fifth album. You put out a couple. You formed in '86. You put out two albums, Possessed by Fire and Rising from the Sea. You guys got back together in '08. Fire and Damnation, Raging Tides, and now you've got Hostile Defiance. What are some of the differences you see? Give me a big difference and a small difference between recording now and say back when you first started. The music scene and everything.
So when we first started, everything was in its infancy, including us, basically. We recorded. I was 17 in '85 when I formed Exumer with Ray. Then we were 18 when we recorded the record.
Yeah.
And obviously, we were green musicians in every sense. We weren't as in command, but that has its charm, obviously. And we were at the beginning of a thing, of a movement, basically. Now, 30 plus years later, we're obviously a lot more seasoned as people, as musicians, as artists, and sound wise, everything has gotten different. The main thing that we try to keep from back in the day is that spirit, is the fire, so to say. And try to I was asked something earlier when I was doing an interview today. How we could, how does it feel to play this type of music when you're, I'm 51 now, in your 50s, and I'm like, the minute I feel that we can't contribute and bring anything fresh to the table, or our live shows kind of are lacking, that's when we quit. That's when I quit, because that's a good sign to say, all right, pack it in. But our live shows are, when people come, they're like, wow, this is crazy. And the records, especially since the Raging Tides, especially, the reception's been overwhelmingly positive, and people are really enjoying what we're doing. So I think the one thing that is in our favor, there's two things, right? We only have 5 records, but we've been a band of 34 years.
Right.
That is kind of like a small catalog compared to like bands from our era.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, we still have a lot to offer, where other bands might have had times where they delivered records that they're not so proud of today.
Yep.
We don't have that problem, because we play. We have 2 cult records from the 80s. And then the last 3 records were proud in equal parts, because they all represent a period of the band in the past 10 years, and that's so it's a double-edged sword, but it kind of works in our favor, I think, more than it's detrimental.
Yeah. Going back to performing and being in your 50s, I'm in my 50s as well. With your show, it's a very physical music and a very physical show. Do you do things to keep yourself in shape? You go to the gym, or is the stage your gym?
I do. Yeah. I've been practicing martial arts since for the past since I'm my mid-late 20s. So for a good 23, 24 years, never stopped. I go to the gym pretty much every day. I was practicing Kung Fu for a long time. Then it, got into some Muay Thai stuff. Then pretty much trained at an MMA gym. But no sparring or anything. Just doing pad work, whatnot, and heavy bag and whatnot. And I still do all these things, just to keep fit. The shows are no problem to me. And we're going to start promoting this album this Friday. The European tour starts this Friday, and it's from the 29th of March to the 14th of April, and it's pretty much almost every day. And we got 17 songs for the set, so you got to be in shape to do all this.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of the set list, are you going to follow the majority on Hostile Defiance? You going to play some old stuff, mixing it up?
So basically, we got 5 songs from Hostile. We got 4 or 5 cuts from Possessed by Fire. We got 4 cuts from Fire and Damnation, 4 from the Raging Tides, and I believe 1 or 2 cuts from Rising from the Sea.
Nice. Any plans for a U.S. tour?
Yeah, so we're working on something getting booked right now, starting October 4th through the 19th. It's going to be USA, all of U.S. and Canada combined, whatever we can fit in.
Cool.
Starting on the East Coast, going to the West, and that's the plan. We have 2 bands that are going to be on the tour, on the road with us. I can't tell, I don't want to say too much, because it's still getting, it's in the process of getting booked. So, that's what we're looking at right now.
Cool. This was your third time working with your producer. First name Dennis. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name.
Kerner.
Okay.
Yeah, Kerner, yeah.
So he's basically worked with all of your albums since you guys have gotten back together.
Yeah, so he's part of a production team with Valdemar Sarista and himself. Valdemar couldn't make it this time around, but we wanted to keep Dennis because Dennis does all the mixing, all the engineering, and all the mastering.
Okay.
So this time we asked him to produce us, which was helpful as well because we had to be very prepared for this and very focused because sometimes you kind of can get laid back because Valdemar is very creative. He helps a lot with the production. Dennis did too. He was a guitar player himself, but we came to the table with the songs ready to go and all done. I mean, well, in the studio, you always work on little things here and there, and you change things. But the songs were pretty much set when we came, and we were very well rehearsed, especially myself and the whole band, really.
Nice. The album, once again, is called Hostile Defiance. We're talking with Mem of Exumer. It's coming out April 5th on Metal Blade. Exumer.bigcartel.com is a place to order. You got some great packages on there, which is always cool. There's one other thing I wanted to chat with you about. I was reading another interview, and I agree with this 100%. How you said with the advent of social media, Facebook, Twitter, and everything, has sort of taken a little bit of the magic and the mystique out of the music. Back in the day, when you got Led Zeppelin 4, you just bought the album. There were no liner notes. There was nothing on it. And you might get a magazine article in Circus or Cream, and it was left up to your imagination.
Right.
And so much of that is gone nowadays. And while it's cool to see everything going on, I agree with you. I like a little mystique as well.
So the thing was, I just remember that when I was a kid, I had certain records that were so intriguing to me, the entire thing. And the reason why they were also so intriguing was I didn't know what the people behind the records were doing on a daily basis.
Yeah.
The mundane, everyday, day-to-day stuff. I had no idea what they were up to. All I could think of was, wow, they must be magicians,
Yeah.
Or they must have some special powers because they made this great, when I first bought black metal it came out in the summer of '82, I think. I went to the store because I had Welcome to Hell, and I saw the cover, and I was so amazed by the whole thing. To the point where every day before I left to go to school, I would prop up the album cover in such a way in my room that would be the first thing that I would see entering my room. I did the same thing 2 years or 3 years prior, 3 years, when I bought Frank Zappa's Shake Your Booty. I was so intrigued by what this man was doing. I had no idea. I mean, as an 11, 12-year-old, you have no idea what Zappa is about. Okay. All I just knew was it was ingenious, and I was totally enthralled in that artwork with him, with the shake thing, just tripped me out. All that is gone. Because now you can have the most insane artwork with the insane anything, but the minute you go on somebody's personal account it's all over because they're taking a dump, they're out in the road, they're smoking a cigarette, they're gone, finished. And it does take away from, I don't care what anybody says, it does take away from the magic of it all, because if you can identify it and to a certain degree even communicate with the people that you admire, there's not much left to say. So I yearn for those things.
Same here. I'm glad I was around for those times,
Me too.
Mem, I always like to end my interviews with just some fun questions. I'm hoping these are questions maybe you've never been asked.
All right.
First car you bought with your own money?
I think it was an Opel back in the day.
Okay.
Like in Germany, when I was still in Germany.
Right. Okay. Favorite old school wrestler?
Andre the Giant.
Okay. Yeah.
Hands down. No.
All right. Would you rather be on a deserted desert island alone or with someone who never stopped talking?
That's a hard one. Probably with someone who never stopped talking because I could just tune it out.
Okay.
And tune back in and out.
Do you have a favorite saying that you fall back on?
Always look forward, never back.
There you go. Good one. Good advice. Late at night and you're hungry, what are you going to grab for a midnight snack?
Either peanuts or some Halo.
Okay. Favorite toy growing up as a child?
Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Nice. Excellent. All right, last one, and this is the one we usually have the most fun with, so I will save it for last. If they were to make a movie of your life, what actor would you have play you in the movie? And it's your movie, your life. You can pick anybody.
Oh, man. Now, I'm going to say, the only reason why I say this is I love Johnny Depp in Fear and Loathing.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's so off the charts. If he could perform crazy like that, then that would be great.
Yeah, you're the
and not because he's any like, not because of the Caribbean thing or
right.
whatever.
Yeah. You're the second guy who's picked Johnny Depp this week for that reason.
Really?
I was talking to Marios from Night Rage the other day, and he went with Johnny Depp. Well, just because of the characters that he plays and the way he can put himself out there and play all these different,
Yes, that's exactly. I mean, he has that crazy ability to be either super over the top or super, I don't know. I mean, he just makes for interesting characters.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Mem, I thank you very much. Once again, we've been chatting with Mem from Exumer here, and let's discuss with Lance Hall. Their new album, Hostile Defiance, will be coming out April 5th on Metal Blade. Once again, you can order it at exumer.bigcartel.com. I have heard it. It is excellent stuff, and I wish you much luck and success with it, and have fun over there on the tour, and hopefully we'll catch you here in the States when you come back in the fall.
You got it. Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.